This is on-nomi, a great new idea out of Japan. Online drinks with your friends when you can't be with them in person. Cheers. Hello again, everyone. I'm back, Andy Blow, with another precision hydration on-nomi, or an online drink. We've got the new drinks bottles have just arrived, so I'm actually just sticking with the water today, and I'm going to be chatting with Sam Pictor. How are you doing, Sam?
Oh, good. Thanks. Thanks for having me. I've got my
That's all
coffee
good. Yeah, got your coffee there,
and my
and it looks
backup
like
water.
oh, good. Yeah, well, new branded bottles coming your way in the post soon, mate. So
Looking
get you
forward to
sorted
that.
out.
Yeah.
Looks like a good bit of rustic earthenware pottery you got there.
Yeah, that's Trevor Pictor. That's my father. He's a potter, so he keeps us well stocked.
Excellent. Good.
Not so
Good
good in
skill.
the not so good in T2 or T1 though.
No, bit fragile for the bottle cages.
Yeah, rattles around a bit.
Cool. So how are you doing anyway?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks. Recovering from some antics that I think we're going to touch on soon that we got up to on Friday. But yeah, constant balance at the moment between training, not training, trying to work out what you should be doing. I think everyone's going through that.
So to put what you just said in context, we're chatting on Tuesday afternoon in the UK, and on Friday you undertook the mother of all running challenges with another friend of ours who we chatted to recently, Mark Threlfall from Global Triathlon Network. So tell us about what the challenge was and how you got into that.
Yeah, that's right. So, well, the challenge was we did a Everest challenge, which I think many people have sort of seen going on, but we decided to do the Run Everest challenge, which we decided to do that. And we also decided to do it unassisted, which is a big difference between unassisted and assisted. The difference being we had to run all of the descents instead of getting a car down.
Wow.
And I got into that. Mark decided it would be a good idea. I convinced him to do a long 100k run a while ago, and so he convinced me to do this. But I did a virtual bike Everest challenge a while ago, and
yes, I remember that.
Hard enough. And then a friend of mine said, "Oh, apparently some people run it." And when he told me that, I said, "Well, that sounds stupid."
Yeah.
Like I vividly remember being like, "Well, I'm never going to do that."
Yeah. What kind of fool would do that? Yeah,
exactly.
So it's 8,848 meters. Is that the correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
And you've got to do all of that ascending, which means obviously you've got to descend basically within one rep the same distance.
Exactly.
And you've got to do it as close to non-stop. So where did you pick to do that?
So we picked a place in southwest of England on the Quantocks hill called Crocombe Hill. And we picked that. It's about it's 1.1. I say about. I know this hill back to front. It's 1.1 kilometre long with an average gradient of 16%, kicking up to 25%, and that is largely because anything shallower than that, you just end up running just far too much distance. So we did that, and it was still 110 kilometres. You see,
so you ran up and down it 51
times.
51 times, blimey. Yeah.
But the caveat of that is, so we set off, and this is a bit of a spoiler alert if you're waiting for the GTN video, which will be coming out at some point shortly after this. We were aiming to do it unassisted, and we got to rep 38. And then, as predicted, the downhills were just brutal. Like every step by that point we were wincing, and eventually Mark's leg just locked out and he just couldn't. We were okay going up, but on rep, I think it was rep 37, rep 38.
Yeah.
It just very quickly went from, okay, we're doing all right. Mentally, we're feeling quite good at that point. We'd been through a few lows beforehand, but we got to that point and it was like, you just couldn't go downhill. And it was either finish there and then DNF. It was, or I continue on my own, which I was not going to do.
No.
Not because I didn't want to leave Mark behind, just because I didn't want to do it on my own. And so we decided to then switch to assisted. So we did 38 ups and downs, and then we did the last 12, 13 reps, and we just got a lift down in a car. which made a big difference actually. But we still ended up running over 100 kilometers.
Wow. You didn't fancy like piggybacking him down then? That would have been a bit much.
Oh mate, we looked back at a couple of videos that we took from like rep 1 versus rep like 40 or rep 35, and just wincing on every step. It just felt like someone was taking a sledgehammer to your quads. And it was always going to be the way. As soon as we said yes to running back down, they're just the killer. Like up's so much better, but the impact on every step was just, it was too much. And it showed.
Well, I remember I've obviously never done anything quite as severe as that, but I have run an event called the Transalpine Trail Run, which is like 7 or 8 days. I can't remember if it's 7 or 8, but you go through the Alps and you do a stage every day, usually about a marathon, and you go up and over a couple of really big climbs in each day. And I remember thinking going into it that I sort of had this inkling that the downs might be bad, but I thought it's still going to be tough on the climbs. But actually, you literally dreaded getting to the top especially for the second descent of the day. It was unreal, the damage that did to your quads.
That's exactly, it just tears them apart. We'd get to the top. Oh, sorry, Andy, I think. I thought I had it on Do Not Disturb.
That's so good.
We get to the top and we touch this park gate, and each time we get to the top, I'd just be like you said, I'd just be regretting that descent, because every step, and it got longer and longer. And even trying to walk, we tried to walk the descent towards the end, but it doesn't make it any better, because it's just, especially at that gradient, like you've still got that impact. So
what's the recovery been like since? So you've like 4 days post now, 3-4 days post.
See, the mind is a scary thing, isn't it? Because already I've forgotten the pain, and I'm sort of thinking about what's next to some extent. Not planning anything, but the legs are. I've been renovating a house with and I've had my brother and my dad helping me out, so I've just been up and down stairs and like kneeling, and I think that's helped massively. On the day after, we were just, sleep deprived was one thing, because we'd started I'd had to get up at 3 a.m. to like get there to start at 5, and then we didn't get home until just gone midnight, so it was a long day. And then but just ankles, and I think like dorsal and plantar flexion, like on the ankles, and just things you don't necessarily think about, were just like tender, and felt quite fragile.
But feeling of achievement for having done that, because not many people I bet have done one of those.
Massively. Relief as well, like when you say you're going to do something, and there's so many points during that challenge where we just thought, we're not going to be able to do this, like as well on rep 1 and then rep 10, and then I remember distinctly between, I can't remember what reps we were on, but like 50 to 60k, I was just like, this isn't going to happen, like, and I was just waiting for like, but at the same time I wasn't injured, so I was like, I've got to keep going. But big sense of achievement.
Did that, talking of injury, did that sort of cross your mind at any point in the planning, that obviously as a pro athlete, your body is very important to how you make your living, and clearly this wouldn't be the kind of challenge you'd take on during a normal year. But did you have any concerns about long-term injury or anything from this?
I did, and when you mentioned that challenge to people, like knees and things like that are the big concern. And what Mark and I both said is, as soon as we think we're getting to the point where we're picking up an injury, like we're just going to stop. Like if that happens on rep 2 or rep like 48, I'm not going to limp. And so I was paying close attention to my gait and my stride, and just making sure, was I limping? Like, was my body still aligned? Like, because I was very conscious of, it's not worth running through an injury to ruin myself. Like there's no glory at the end of it if you're just like out of action for ages afterwards. So
for sure,
it was a factor.
So one last question about that challenge then. What were you eating and drinking in terms of how did you fuel that one, and did you stop or did you eat on the way up or down? Or
yes, that's a really good question actually. We had a fuel stop just where the cars were parked, about 100 meters into the climb, and there was a bit of a plateau there, so we Well, to give an idea of the climb, it was right next to a escape chute for like cars when their brakes fail.
Mm-hmm.
So we had all our stuff there, and we'd grab it on the way. We'd run down, turn around, and then grab it on the way back up. Just because going up, it was just you could just give you a chance to walk for a bit. But we did it. I didn't actually see what the temperature was, but it was at one point that was the hardest thing. We had direct sunlight, and you were trying to dodge from like patches of shade, and it was so hot. And on the ascent, there was just no way of like cooling down. There was no breeze, and I've never had so much like precision hydration in one day. But we were just like if I didn't take it after a rep, so a rep was taking us between 15 and 20 minutes up and down.
Yeah.
If I didn't have it after one, by the time it came around for the second one, I was depleted, and I knew that I needed more like water, more electrolytes, because we were just like sweating constantly for 17 hours. It was a real struggle. In terms of food, we peanut butter and jam sandwiches, like bananas, all solid food, because it's so aerobic, like your body can digest it all. Just trying to like have real like simple stuff.
Much nicer when you can do that. You don't have to rely on sticky, sweet stuff the whole time. You get pretty sick of that, don't you, in 16 hours?
Exactly. I mean, we gave ourselves like halfway, we stopped for 5 minutes and sat down and ate a bit, and then I think it was the 40th rep, we did the same again. But apart from that, we were just continuous because we wanted to get it done.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can imagine. Well done. I mean, that's like I say, a serious undertaking, and I'm glad to hear you've got out the other side of it in good shape.
Yeah, so am I.
But you've got another challenge, totally different challenge coming up in 2 or 3 months, because we've all heard that you're going to be a dad for the first time, and Claire's expecting a baby. So congratulations for that. And
thank you.
How are you? Is that why you're renovating the house? Are you sort of planning your bit a nursery?
It's like, we need some space. So we've just moved. We are in the process of moving. Yeah, exactly that. We need more space from the current flat we're in. We've got a bit of a crossover, which is good. So we're like knocking about walls and making a bit of space. But that's a whole different ball game, I guess. And I can't train for it like I would if there was a big race on the horizon. I've just got to I've read a couple of books, but people assure me that's not going to help.
Yeah, well, as a dad of 2 small kids, I think the best bit of advice I can offer you is that make sure that you get one that sleeps in the night. I've had two that didn't, or certainly one that really didn't, and that was pretty tough. But otherwise, I'm sure that you will learn fast and learn on your feet as you go.
Yeah, I think so. I'll put my order in. I mean, it's sleep seems to be the challenge. We've got a few new parents that are friends, and the differences between ones that seem to sleep through the night. I mean, through the night is a relative term by the sounds of it. But the difference between them and ones that have to get up every 2 hours seems to be worlds apart. Yeah. So
I think whatever happens, I don't know what you're like at napping, but you have to get pretty good at napping. I was occasionally catching a couple of hours here and there, and
as a pro triathlete, that's like one of the things that I thought I needed to improve on, and so I think it's definitely something I'm going to be utilising, making the most of.
So that's a good way for me to ask you actually about you turned pro. Was it 2 years ago you turned professional?
I think it probably was. Yeah, it was probably about pretty much bang on.
Yeah, and what's been the big difference in lifestyle and in what you've been able to do by switching to go pro?
Sure. I think so. I still work. I reduced my working hours. That was part of that. So it has been balancing it, but it's just been giving me more time to focus on training and rest and recovery rather than just increasing the training.
Yeah.
I think the big thing it's opened up for me is the support you get. So being able to just either discounted or free race entries mean that I can race more. And sometimes some races will give you like accommodation or things like that. The network you build around you, like working with partners and like working with like you guys, and just having that access to those like specialist, like the specialist knowledge. But yeah, it's been, and I think for me, something, without wanting to get too deep, like with getting my professional license and reducing my working hours and things like that, and putting more into it and committing, getting skin in the game sort of thing, I feel less guilty about putting those hours in. Whereas I think previously, when I was just doing it sort of on the side, I felt guilty about like leaving Claire, and certainly when we've got a newborn baby, I'm going to find it even harder, but to like leave them and go off and do this, which is my own thing. What the big switch for me when I turned professional was, this is serious for me now. Like I'm really like pushing this, and hopefully I can do it to help earn part of my living from. So yeah, I mean, with that comes stresses and strains. Like you book flights, you book accommodation, you put money into it, and then you get a puncture, or you just come fifth or sixth, and you break even or don't break even, and you start evaluating races on like whether you can make money from it. And if you're not careful, that sucks the reason out of what you were doing it for originally.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of people who do sport seriously have had a reality check this year, and I think have definitely had their why has had to be reassessed, hasn't it? Because if you were doing it purely for racing, that's been stripped away this year. I know that I'm definitely well beyond like doing sport for racing. So for me, it's been interesting that if anything, I've managed to maintain or even increase ever so slightly the amount of training I've done by being based at home and not having to travel. No, so it hasn't affected it. But how's it made you think about your reasons for doing it? Are you feeling more enthused about getting back to racing, or has it made you question it?
It's interesting. I always thought, like, I used to get massive race day nerves, and I used to, and I think it's quite common, like the morning of the race, I'm like, why am I doing this? As soon as the gun goes, I love it. But until that point, I'm just like, I want to stay in bed every time. And so I thought I was doing it for the love of training and racing because I had to. This actually made me realize I love racing, and like racing was a big part of why I do it. I love that feeling of pushing myself hard and against other people, and the camaraderie around that. But yeah, and so it's made me realize that I need a focus point, and that's probably where these challenges have come from. It's given me a reason to do the training, not because, and this comes back to what I was saying just now, not because I need the motivation to train, but because I need the justification to train. If I don't have those challenges or those races, I think I could go out for this 2-hour ride or 4-hour ride, but actually I've got these jobs I need to get done, and if I don't do them, Claire might have to do them, or whatever it is. And so it's made me think about it in that way, and so I think with no racing, no challenges, and if I knew that I wasn't going to be racing further down the line, I'd probably just be ticking over, but at a lower level, a lower volume, lower hours. And so I think, as a lot of people have found during like the lockdown period, it's been a bit of a roller coaster of like, I've hit some really good weeks, and then there's been a few weeks where I've just thought like, why am I doing this for? And so actually it took me a couple of weeks to realize that, step back and think, I need to just like, this is off season effectively for me now. And so I've been training as if it's off season, just having like doing what I'm enjoying, taking that mental pressure off, and then just gearing up for these random long distance runs or whatever it is. And I feel that's worked well for me.
Yeah, you've got to invent your own stuff. I read an interesting article online yesterday about the fact that something like 3.8 times more fastest known times for various like ultra running and cycling records have been posted in the last few months. And we've seen professional athletes who would normally be doing their like serious proper races, sort of throwing their hat in the ring. And I know that the cycling Everesting record has been sort of taken by a couple of pro riders on the men's and women's side in recent times, and that, which is pretty cool actually, that people are really seeing what the best can do.
And that's what I've enjoyed seeing that unfold. And I think, like you said, if this was a professional season, I wouldn't be able to tick off those things that I do love doing, like 100k run and just seeing what you can do. And it's just, I always like thought, oh, if I wasn't racing, I'd love to like push myself in this sort of arena, and it's given me the opportunity to dabble a bit.
Yeah, we've just yesterday, Alan Hovder, who's another PH athlete, you probably know.
Yeah, raced with him a few times.
Yeah, he went for the Norwegian record for 24 hours on the bike, and actually did it he put like 140k into the record or something like that, and got within a few k of the world record. You know, he rode I think it was 890 kilometers or close to it in 24 hours, and it's incredible. And you know, seeing people, you know, pull off feats like that. And I think you're right. I think everyone's doing it for kind of the same reasons in many respects. It's like filling the gap where races have left off, and keeping yourself up for it. Have you got any other? Have you got your eyes on anything else as the year progresses?
I mean, there's a few things. There's definitely things out there I'd like to do at the moment with house renovation and baby. My focus this was like the last. Once I've done that, this house needs to be ready for when the baby comes.
Yeah.
Following that, I've not put my name on any start lists because I just don't want that. If I find myself in the position where I can race, then great. But I'd rather focus on the family like this season, and I think that's just what the decision I've made now, is that my focus will be on that, be on enjoying my training, and then we can gear up for 2021, and we'll see what that brings.
Yeah, well, I've just reached a real good milestone with my little boy, who's 6 years old now. And the other morning, and he's done this a few times in lockdown, he's come out on his bike for a run when I go for a run, and he can comfortably sort of bike 5 or 6 miles at a pace where, if it's not too technical and windy, you know, he's sort of waiting for me on the faster bits, and I'm helping him through the other bits. But it all nets out that I run about the same speed I would on my own at the moment, and that's
so good.
It's really good, that, and I think, you know, that'll be something to look forward to, you know, in a few years' time. You know, get the kids out training with you, because it's a lot of fun actually.
And that is actually in its own way like motivation to keep going, because I want to be able to, now that I'm going to be a dad, like I want to be able to show them what I'm doing. I want them I want to do that at an age where they're going to understand what's going on, a bit of what's going on. So I think the world, like everything adjusts. I'm not at that stage yet, but I can anticipate it all adjusting, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, my wife and I both have said that with our kids, they see us going out. One of us will exercise pretty much every morning, first thing. Sometimes both of us alternately. You know, we kind of tag team out while one of the other one's looking after the kids. And they've just been brought up in this house where they think it's pretty normal that mum and dad go for a bike ride, and then we all go for bike rides now, and we're trying to go for runs and things. And they obviously, that's their world. Just because not everyone does that, for them it's normal. And I think I'm hoping that gets really instilled into them, you know.
Yeah. How good is that? That'll just serve them well through life, won't it?
Yeah, whether they choose to be competitive or not, kind of doesn't matter to an extent, as long as they feel that that's all normal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I love that. And that's exactly what we want to, like, my wife's similar. Like, we want to be active and want to just teach them to explore and use the bodies.
I tell you, one brilliant thing that I found that someone put me onto was you can buy a little bike seat when they're I can't remember how old they need to be, but it's pretty young actually. A little bike seat that goes on the frame or between your legs, so they can hold on the handlebars of your mountain bike or your road bike, and you can really go and do some proper riding there. I remember taking my little boy out on trails and things, and they get the kind of pilot's eye view of everything, and can actually can see how you move on the bike and that sort of thing. It's pretty cool. That's well worth having a look at.
I'm lining up the running buggy, but we do have those sort of flowy, like gravel off-roady trails, and I've seen a few people with them, and I think it would just be so much fun.
Well, I actually, we'll definitely keep in touch about that, because I think hopefully mine will be coming to the end of their useful lifespan.
Perfect.
Just in a year or two's time when you'll be needing it.
I've seen how much those things cost.
Yeah, no, mate, I'll stick it in the post for you. You can adopt one of those and get some more use out of it. It's been a great bit of kit for me.
Oh, fantastic. That's good to hear.
Good stuff. Well, thanks for taking a bit of time to chat with us, Sam. It's good to catch up with you, and another fantastic example of just someone making the best of this sort of slightly testing situation we've got on. So well done, and thanks for inspiring the rest of us with your crazy challenges.
There'll be more, no doubt. It's just whether they're this side of Christmas, I think.
Yeah, you've got the big challenge, just to get on with in the meantime.
Biggest of them all. So, and that one doesn't finish after 24 hours. So
no, according to my mum and dad, they reckoned at least 30 years, maybe sometimes still ongoing.
It's a mental battle as well then, because I remember on rep 3 thinking, blimey, we've got a long way to go.
Yeah. No,
thank you very much, Andy. It's good to chat.
Good to see you, mate.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, take care. Bye.